This evening, the annexation story on Tidewater Viewpoint. We're visiting in various sections of Princess Anne County, and here we're going to talk to some of the thinking people of the area, people who are officers and members of civic organizations, about the problems that concern them in this annexation picture. As you know, this section of Princess Anne County becomes part of the city of Norfolk on January 1st. And many people want to know what's going to happen. They want to know what the city's plans are for this 13 square miles of area affected. So we're going to find out what they have to ask, and then we'll get the answers from city officials, all on the same program. We're going to start our visiting in North Camellia Acres, and here is Mrs. Morris B. Hawkins, who lives at 3308 Ridgefield Drive. I think she has a question that she'd like to ask.
The annexation question is certainly one of very mixed emotions. One of the things that we're most concerned with in this area is, will there be any changes made in the zoning laws, particularly in favor of business? We would like to know what any changes will be in the zoning.
Mrs. Hawkins, I am Wiley R. Wood, the Assistant City Planning Engineer. We're still working on the proposed zoning plan for the new area, and I cannot predict with any degree of certainty what the zoning will be at any specific location. However, in large subdivisions such as North Camellia Acres, where all of the land is being used now residentially, it is logical to assume that the zoning under the new plan will be residential. Sometime after the first of the year, about the middle of January, there will appear a legal notice in the Norfolk newspapers showing a map giving the proposed zoning plan and setting dates for public hearings to be held by the Planning Commission in or near the new area.
We move over to another section of North Camellia Acres, and we visit with the president of the Civic League of this area, Mr. Haywood Henderson, who's standing in front of his residence at 8136 Gerald Drive.
Mr. Carlson, I find that talking with different members of families of this community, there are as many contrasting opinions as there are people I question. However, I do feel that as a whole, we are happy to become a part of Greater Norfolk. One primary interest, of course, seems to be a junior high school, and one question I'd like to ask you is concerning police protection for the new annexation.
Mr. Henderson, I am C.H. Dalby, Director of Public Safety for the City of Norfolk. I'm very happy to attempt to answer your question about police protection for the area in which you now live and after it becomes a part of the present city. In our current budget, or that is the budget adopted for 1959, there is an appropriation for 40 additional police officers. These men have already been taken into service. They are now undergoing rigid indoctrination. They, however, will not be used in the new territory, but more seasoned officers will be brought in from the present city. Your area and all of the rest of that part of Princess Anne County, which is coming into Norfolk, will have the benefit of the entire police organization of the city, in traffic, in youth bureau, in the detective bureau, the advantages of the central files, the fingerprints, the crime maps, and all things that enter into police work. There will be enough motorized equipment in your area, I'm sure, to meet the needs and the demands.
Now we're going to visit briefly over at Camellia Shores, and the place is 7805 Tarpon Place. And George Desgain, I think, has a question he'd like to ask of a city official.
Yes, I'd like to know exactly what type of fire protection they're going to have in this area. It seems to me that's one of the big problems that have faced the people of this area for quite a while. And I hope that something can be done about it. Now, I don't know exactly what their plans are, but I hope that in the near future we will have a fire station a lot closer than Ocean View or Toll Street at this present time.
Mr. Desgain, the City of Norfolk, by recent action of the Council, has acquired on a lease basis the Volunteer Fire Department's building at 15th Street and East Ocean View Avenue. At the present moment, we are in the process of converting that volunteer station into a paid station. It will be manned by a group of trained and paid professional firemen. Also situated close to the area which will become a part of the city on January the 1st is a station that we know as number 14 on Searles Point Road near Pinehurst Road. In addition, the architects have practically completed the plans for a new station to be constructed on Virginia Beach Boulevard at Azalea Garden Road. The combination of these three stations, plus future development in that part of Princess Anne County to be annexed, combined with the total resources of the entire Norfolk Fire Division, will, I believe, offer you that standard of fire protection and firefighting services that you have a right to expect. Certainly, that is what we have in mind.
This is Milton Atkinson of 4221 Hewitt Drive.
I would like to know what health facilities the city of Norfolk will provide our area.
Mr. Atkinson, I am Dr. Huff, the Director of Public Health of the City of Norfolk. It is the intent of the Health Department to give to the incoming territory the same health services that the rest of the city get. They're divided into 8 divisions, primarily. Vital statistics, self-explanatory. Communicable diseases, which is tuberculosis control, VD control, and other things. Medical services, which primarily are physicians and a pharmacy for dispensing of drugs prescribed by the physicians for indigent patients. Laboratories, which assist physicians in studies and making of diagnosis, examination of waters, milk, rabies control, maternal and child health. The nurses work in prenatal clinics, tumor clinics, and other clinics in the city, parochial schools, 40 nursery and kindergarten schools. Veterinary services, which is concerned with the control of rabies, and the sanitary control of milk and meat products. Food manufacturing plants. General sanitation is routine inspection of all activities within the city of Norfolk, including restaurants and other food establishments, and mosquito control. Finally, health education, which assists people in whole classes for the schools and other places requested. We have in health education pamphlets that will explain all of these things in detail, which we will be glad to mail to any person in the incoming district upon request.
Now we've moved to Larimore Lawns, another one of the little residential communities in the area that's to be annexed by the city of Norfolk. And we're visiting now on Skyline Drive. And here, coming out of her door at 1756 Skyline Drive, is Mrs. Richard Mansfield. And I wonder what she'd like to ask of our city officials.
Well, one thing we would like to know, being in the annexed area, is just what the city has planned for us as far as recreational facilities. Norfolk has a very wonderful recreational program, but we are interested in knowing what they plan to do for us and just how soon.
I am D. Paul Deco, Director of Parks and Recreation. Norfolk has in the annexed territory 4 public grounds: the Little Creek Elementary School, Larimore Lawns School, the Azalea Gardens, and the picnic grounds on the Military Highway and southern branch of the Elizabeth River. It's our plan to rehabilitate those grounds for recreational purposes throughout the next year. In addition to that, a survey is being made now of the best uses that can be made of the territory out there for recreational play. The Recreation Bureau offers to the annexed territory its long-range program, which is available now to them, of consultant service, of special services in which they would could plan recreational programs to any public group out in that territory. Some of the things that might be available is the regular athletic program of the city, which they are eligible to participate in now. Church groups or civic groups that have recreational problems can get consultant services, and they'll be available at the calling of the Recreation Bureau at any time.
This is Bob Carey in front of his home at 1609 Rich Avenue. He is a past president of the Larimore Lawn Civic League and now on the board of directors.
One of the things that my wife and I are concerned about is the water rates. We have a rather large family out here, and our present water bill runs something in the neighborhood of $5 to $7 a month. We're particularly interested in what the city water rates are going to be.
Mr. Bob Carey, I am S.C. Morissette, Director of Public Works of the City of Norfolk. With reference to your question concerning water rates as compared to the rate you will pay after you come into the city with the rate which you are now paying, generally speaking, the difference in water rate will be between 1/4 and 1/3 less than you now pay. Your present bill being approximately $7 a month, on that assumption that you will use the same amount of water after you come into the city, your savings on an annual basis will be between $24 and $25 a year. Even then, we must recognize the fact that the water rates, even under the recent increase by the city, it's an amazing thing, but you still pay less than 10 cents a ton for water delivered to your house for your and your family's consumption.
This is a portion of Meadowbrook Forest, another one of the areas in the 13.5 square miles of area which will be annexed by the City of Norfolk on January 1st. We reached approximately the halfway point in our tour of this area, getting questions from the thinking people put to city officials, and of course the answers from them. Now, as we visit Meadowbrook Forest, we arrive at the home of Mrs. George Sinkes, 1819 Meadowbrook Boulevard. Mrs. Sinkes is the president of the Garden Club of Meadowbrook Forest. Her husband is president of the Civic League, so she's very active in civic affairs here. Let's see what she wants to ask of our city officials.
The people of this area are concerned about many things. One of them is, once we become part of the city, how soon will we receive sewers in this area? How much will it cost the residents? How will we bill for them? And how long will it be before we have to tie in once they are present?
Ms. Sinkes, the sewer system in the annexed territory will be extended to all of the residents at the earliest possible date. Until such time as certain basic data has been assembled, it will not be possible for us to forecast accurately when it will be done. We hope very quickly after annexation, and it'll be done at a cost not to exceed $6 per front foot to each property owner, and you will get a bill at the end of the first year after installation, after which you have 5 years to pay with 6% interest on the deferred balance. If you now have septic tanks and they function properly, you will not be required to tie into this sewer until such time as the present septic tank ceases to function.
Here is the secretary of the Meadowbrook Forest Garden Club, Mrs. Alfred J. Alley, at her home at 6900 Gardner Drive, standing on the lawn with one of her 2 children.
Will the residents of the annexed area have more voice in local affairs under Norfolk City Manager type of government?
Mrs. Alley, I'm Sam P. Hull, Assistant to the City Manager. The City of Norfolk operates under the so-called council-manager form of government, in which the
members of the council are elected at large. That is, they're not elected from certain areas of the city, as in the old days when quite a bit of ward heeler politics were in fashion, where a councilman being elected from a certain area made him feel perhaps that he owed allegiance to the people in that area, possibly to the detriment of the people at large. Our form of government has all of its members of council elected at large, representing the affairs of the people of the city as a whole, and they in turn appoint the chief executive officer of the city manager, who administers the affairs of the city. We feel this is a great improvement over this old so-called ward heeler form of government. You new citizens of Norfolk should feel free at all times to call on any branch of the city with whom you have business, and I'm sure that in almost all cases you will get your affairs attended to promptly and to your satisfaction. I would like to call to your attention, however, that the city council, which meets once a week, every Tuesday, 2:30, in the council chamber at City Hall, is open to anyone for any occasion at all in which they wish to address the council. Obviously, they should not come to council if they have some small matter to be attended to, which can be handled by an administrative office of the city. But where you're not satisfied with something that has been troubling you and you feel that you cannot get satisfaction in other channels, the city council is open to anyone at any time on its regular weekly meetings on Tuesdays at 2:30, and we at City Hall would be glad to see you in any of our offices, and the council will be glad to see you at any time.
This is Azalea Acres, and we're calling on Mr. W.F. Tubbs, the president of the Azalea Acres Civic League. He lives at 3328 Bud Court, and he's coming out to meet us now.
My family and I are very glad we're coming into the city. We've lived in the city before, and we're quite pleased with the city's services. However, we must thank Princess Anne for the fine service they've given us for the past 3 years in this area. The one thing we would like to know is if we have a street maintenance problem, who should we call to have a hole in the street repaired?
Mr. W.F. Tubbs, the question of street maintenance in the city is one that receives a great deal of attention from the street repair department. It's well manned, it has skilled people always available to take care of emergencies, and if there is a hole in the street, you should call down to City Hall and ask for extension 367. If the repair needed is not of an emergency nature, but is the result of normal wear and tear, please so inform the person with whom you talk at that time. This will permit us to give the kind of service that's needed.
Here's another resident of Azalea Acres, Mrs. Richard C. Lowry at 3329 Fletcher Drive.
We have a very bad drainage problem here. Well, every time it rains, the street in front of me is flooded, and we have water to reach as far as that tree over there. Over here on my left is the sewage pumping station, which floods every time we have a heavy rain. We would like to know what the city will do about our drainage problem.
Ms. Larry, the question of drainage is one that has given the city of Norfolk considerable concern, even in the old areas of the city. And I'm sure that we face a problem in the area which is coming in. However, we are familiar with your particular problem in Azalea Acres. Not in detail, but enough to know that it does need some remedial action. However, its close proximity to the natural drainage of the lake will permit us, I believe, to give you relief at an early date. The fact that the sewage pumping station contributes to this lack of drainage is something which I believe we can overcome within a few months after that area comes into the city.
We're visiting now in another one of the attractive little suburban communities in Princess Anne County, in that section of 13.5 square miles which is to be annexed by the city of Norfolk on January 1st. This is Poplar Halls, and here in front of her home at 5477 Poplar Hall Drive is Mrs. Thompson Pouton, and I know she has a question that she'd like to ask of our city officials.
As a parent of the Poplar Hall area, I would be interested to know what the city would do regarding sidewalks. As you can see, we have a very attractive community and very well-kept streets, but due to the fact that we haven't any sidewalks, the children consequently play in the street all the time, and it has created quite a problem. And we would like to know what the city fathers plan to do about it.
Ms. Pouton, the Poplar Hall section is an attractive residential section, and had it been developed in the city of Norfolk, sidewalks would have been a prerequisite to its improvement. The council has long recognized the need for sidewalks as a part of a street improvement, and all requests for street improvements on unimproved streets require that the property owners also agree to pay the cost of installing sidewalks. Now, this cost is a small one, approximately $1.50 per linear foot. It's assessed against the property owner, and they're given 5 years in which to pay for it. Most of the people have recognized the need of sidewalks, not only from a standpoint of public safety, but as a definite part of an improved street. Now that you have your street improvement and don't have the sidewalk, the only suggestion that I could make would be that your community decide on the need, circulate a petition, and submit it to the Department of Public Works for processing.
This is Mrs. Joseph H. Downing, whose husband is vice president of the Poplar Hall Civic League. She lives at 489 Beacon Hill Circle.
Mr. Carlson, I should like to know what library facilities would be offered the people in the annexed area. I feel that this is a subject that all of us here in the area are very interested in. Inasmuch as there isn't a library building, I feel that it would be a great advantage to the people in the area if we could be supplied with a bookmobile.
I am Arthur Kirkby, city librarian. Mrs. Downing, your interest in bookmobile service for Princess Anne County coincides with our view as to the best first step in Princess Anne annexation area. Princess Anne, as you know, is a large area, about 13.5 square miles. It also poses the problem of water barriers. A single branch, even if it were located as nearly as possible in the geographic center of Princess Anne, would still not be available to a great many of its residents. Branch library service must come in time, however. In 1959, we do not think it will be possible to place a bookmobile into your area, but we do think that this can be done in 1960, and in fact this follows the procedure that was used in Tanner's Creek. In the meantime, you and the other residents of Princess Anne County will have the free use of the main library, our present branch system, and the bookmobile which serves the Tanner's Creek area. And of course, the $1.50 non-resident fee, which those of you who have used the library in the past have had to pay, will be abolished. As to the future, I believe that branch library service and bookmobile service will both be required in the Princess Anne area. Perhaps 1 or 2 branch libraries located as strategically as possible, with the bookmobile to serve the outlying parts of the area. Those bookmobiles should be placed, as they are now in Tanner's Creek, in shopping centers. because that is where the people come, and shopping centers are the ideal location for people who wish to use a bookmobile, or a branch for that matter, in addition to performing their other areas, or rather their other errands. I believe that you, the residents of Princess Anne County, will be receiving your first library service in 1960, and that you will be very pleased with it.
Well, that's our report from the area to be annexed by the City of Norfolk, 1st of January. Some of the questions from the residents of the area, and a few answers from city officials.